it's Jasmine, and today we're going to be making pearl meatballs. This is a family recipe that is usually eaten during the Chinese New Year Eve dinner. My grandma had made it every single year, and it is one of my favorite dishes on the Chinese New Year Eve dinner table. So I learned how to make it as well. Meatballs, pronounced ones or yuans, in Mandarin sound similar to family reunion, which is pronounced 团圆, which is why it slowly became a symbol for family reunion, which is a really big thing for Chinese on the Chinese New Year. The Chinese use lots of different ingredients to make meatballs in order to represent family reunion on the Chinese New Year Eve dinner table, including pork, beef, shrimp, fish, even tofu, and vegetables. Today we're going to be making my favorite type of Chinese meatballs, which is pearl meatballs. And it is called pearl meatballs because the meatball is rolled in this fancy sweet rice, and after it is steamed, it looks like little pieces of pearls on the outside. So let's get started. For the ingredients you will need: 450 grams of lean ground pork, 1 cup of fancy sweet rice, 6 water chestnuts, about 150 grams, 30 grams of dried mushrooms, 2 small pieces of ginger, 2 sticks of green onion, 180 grams of broccoli, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, 2 tablespoons of oyster sauce, and 1 tablespoon of sesame oil. For the ingredients, you will need this sweet fancy rice, which you could buy in a Chinese market. And this is different from the regular rice because it's stickier. There are 2 kinds of this sweet fancy rice. One kind is longer and one kind is rounder. You want to choose the rounder kind because it's stickier and it looks more like a pearl on the meatballs. And you want to make sure you soak it overnight, so that all the moisture is in the sweet fancy rice, which makes it stickier and cooks faster. And right now we're going to drain away all the water so that it sticks easier onto the meatballs. Moving on, we have these dry Chinese mushrooms, and you could buy them in any Chinese supermarket. Try to buy the thick kind because they taste better and they smell very nice. You want to soak them 20 minutes before in some warm water, about 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and with some sugar so that it's no longer hard, which is very hard to cook, and so that they plump up a little and they're nice and soft. And try to wash them when you're soaking them so that it's no longer dirty. And squeeze them dry completely so you get rid of extra moisture, and now we're ready to chop them up. To chop them up, first get rid of the stem. Squish the rest a little bit with the knife so that it is nice and flat. And chop them into strips. And then chop them as small as you can. In this meatball, I also have a very special ingredient, which is water chestnuts. Water chestnuts is actually a fruit that if you clean the peel, you could eat the peel with it. But for this recipe, I will be peeling the peel and using the inside for the meatballs, which gives the meatball a nice crunchiness. But if you can't find this in a Chinese supermarket, you could leave this out. This is just for the traditional recipe. I have a fruit knife here, and I'm going to be very carefully peeling the peel. If you don't think you could do this yourself, ask for adult help. I have finished peeling all of my water chestnuts, and now we're going to break this into little pieces, but we're not going to chop them into little pieces because that would fly everywhere. But we're going to use a plastic bag and a rolling pin, and we're going to bash them into little pieces. This is kind of the fun part. I'm just going to place my water chestnuts into my Ziploc bag. Zip this up, and when you have still a little bit that is unzipped, get rid of the most of the air, because if there's lots of air and you bash it with a rolling pin, the bag will break, and you don't want that. So get rid of most of the air and then zip it up. Once that's all sealed, we're going to take a rolling pin and start bashing. Don't bash the water chestnuts into like a juice, but you want them to still be quite crunchy. Lastly, I'm going to finely chop my green onions and my ginger, and then my ingredients are ready. Now that all the ingredients for the meatball are ready, we can start making the meatballs. So in a big bowl, I'm going to crack in 1 egg. Now I'm going to saute my minced mushrooms, which will make it more delicious. First, I'm going to wait for my pan to heat up so it's nice and hot. Then I'm going to add in about a teaspoon of oil. I'm going to dump in all of my minced mushrooms. And stir that around. After about 2 minutes, it becomes a little brown in color and the mushrooms itself becomes a little dry. That means to turn off. Now I'm going to put all my pork into the egg. Be careful here, don't make a huge splash. I'm going to add in my crushed water chestnuts and the minced mushrooms. Add in the green onion and minced ginger. 1 tablespoon of oyster sauce. And now to mix this together, I'm going to start off with a spatula. And to make sure everything is evenly mixed, I'm going to switch over to my clean hands. I have a wok here filled with some water, and while we're making the meatballs, turn this on high heat for it to boil. My fancy sweet rice is completely dry, so I'm going to dump that into the bowl. I have also prepared 2 plates here, and I also have a mini ice cream scoop to measure out the amount of mixture that I'm using, but you could just eyeball the meatballs, but I like to measure it so that they're all even. So roll them into a little ball and place them on the plate. I have made 28 meatballs in total, and I prepared 2 plates. And I'm ready to roll the meatballs in the fancy sweet rice. Leave about ½ an inch of space between each meatball because when it's steaming in the pot, the rice will sort of double in size and you don't want them to stick together. I finished rolling my meatballs in my fancy sweet rice, so I'm going to start steaming this plate in the boiling water. My meatballs are still steaming, and after it finished steaming, you can eat that already, but I want to make it a little prettier and add some veggies to my meatballs. So I have a broccoli here, and I'm going to cut off the stem so that you only have the top part. I have a pot here filled with boiling water. I'm going to add in 1 teaspoon of flavorless oil. Going to throw in the broccoli and just let it cook for about 30 seconds, a very short period of time. And the oil makes the broccoli really, really green. I'm going to put the broccoli into some ice water so that it could keep its greenness. My meatballs have steamed for 20 minutes and now the timer has gone off. You can see that the rice on top is all clear. That means it is done. And now I'm just going to take it out. And I'm going to steam the second plate. After I've drained away the water from the broccoli, I have a small bowl with a round bottom, and I also have a big plate here. And what I'm going to do is place the broccoli with the floury side out, and I'm just going to place that in the bowl. I'm going to press down the broccoli so that it's nice and tight and will hold its shape later on. And now I have a plate here, and I'm just going to flip that onto the bowl. I'm going to carefully flip the bowl over, center it, and leave it on like that. Now I'm going to make some sauce for the broccoli for it to have some flavor. I have 1 tablespoon of oyster sauce and 1 tablespoon of sesame oil, and I'm just going to mix those together. The water chestnuts gives the meatballs a crunchiness unlike other meatballs, and the dried mushrooms gives it a beautiful scent. Want another one? And that's how you make pearl meatballs. This is a traditional family recipe for Chinese New Year. It represents family reunion, and it is my favorite type of Chinese meatballs. So thanks for watching, and see you guys next time. Bye! Which you could find in a Chinese restaurant.